My name is Robert Colley. I am the founding editor of Stone Canoe, which is a journal published in Syracuse. So it comes out once a year. And you're eligible to submit if you are a current or former resident of upstate. And we define that very broadly as being anything above New York City, really. But I'm very happy that we have 4 wonderful writers from the latest issue of Stone Canoe here today to read. And I'm going to ask each of them to also briefly introduce themselves when they come up, so I don't waste any more of your time. So we're going to have Jennifer Wholey come up first.
So I'm a poet, a writer, and an editor. I'm local to Ithaca. I live in T-Burg, just a little bit up the lake. And I've been writing poetry for a while, but very happy to have the opportunity to read here today and to be published in Stone Canoe. So the poems that I'm going to be reading today are from my chapbook on disappearing, which is not yet in publication, but I do have some cards if you want to follow me on social media. But on disappearing centers actually on the death of a close friend to suicide, all the while grappling with an unruly female body, dealing with autoimmune disease and mental health. It's really fun, I promise. So these poems explore a lot how anxiety intersects with sense of place, and how we process loss and sort of the stories that we do or don't tell as we cope with trauma. So buckle up. So the first poem I'm going to read today is called Congratulations. When my body first started attacking itself, I didn't notice, by which I mean I did. I noticed the way sweat dripped down my arms in guilty rivers after a hot shower, how a stemmed wine glass wouldn't stay still in my hand. I noticed how hard my heart was pounding, just like on our wedding day when I tapped my husband on the shoulder and we saw each other in our finery, realizing this was it. This was everything. And we hugged, except now I was laying in bed, not moving. After a trip to the ER, I was told not to get myself out of breath. I was afraid of walking anywhere in this land of hills. I got 2 new meds, one to control my heart rate and the tremors, and the other to keep my thyroid from killing me. My mom came to see me, by which I mean take care of me, and we shopped for clothes for the thinner, sicker me. I got 2 newer, smaller bras, and the Victoria's Secret clerk told the thinner, sicker me, "Congratulations! Look at you! I'm hurting. You look great," by which I mean smaller. I'm ill. Congratulations on your organs burning out. How lucky for your skinny jeans. Congratulations on disappearing. So this next poem is called Electric Sense, and it's about anxiety. Subtitle, Midnight Panic Attack at Sylvia Beach Hotel. I jolt awake at 1 a.m., an hour only into sleep. Before I think, before I breathe, the sharks are swimming in the deep. Swimming in their innocence, their gleaming bodies beam at me. All silver smiles, they haunt my dreams, awake, cold sweat beside the sea. All gritted teeth, all racing heart, I hate myself. I hate the night. I hate that I am built this way, all lizard brain, all fight or flight. Not all sharks swim instead of sleep. I wish I could be one of those. A spiracle behind each eye, electric sense up in my nose. I keen for ways to breathe down here, the ocean's surface, far and dark. I long to glide right past my fear, for ways to glint myself a shark. So now we're going to get even heavier and talk about dead things. Well, dead people. But this is the first time that I've read these two specific poems in Ithaca, and for me they have a lot of meaning. As I said, the topic sort of centers around the death of one of my close friends to suicide, and Ithaca has sort of and particularly Cornell has a tenuous relationship with mental health, addressing mental health issues. So I wrote one of these poems 10 years ago when the events first took place, and one of them just within the last year. So I hope they resonate with you. Two arts. I walk the path where all your pieces lay, down Risley's Gorge, where you buried your art, just out of sight, your clay returned to clay. You hid your sculptures off the trodden way. I search, but I'm not quite sure where to start, along the path where all your pieces lay. You'll dig them up when you come back, you'll say. You can't just ship them, they'll fall apart. Just out of sight, your clay returned to clay. I hope you might have left one here today by accident. No, you were far too smart. I walk the path where all your pieces lay. You disinterred them when you came to stay. I had no idea when you might depart. Just out of sight, your clay returned to clay. For your memorial, we put them on display. I spoke about you, but I did not have the heart to walk the path where all your pieces lay. Just out of sight, your clay returned to clay. So this next poem is the one that appears in Stone Canoe 2019, I believe issue 13, lucky number 13. And this one is a crown of sonnets. So there's 5 interconnected, unrhymed sonnets about my friend Rio, and it's called Rio. Someday, he might stay in your living room, an old friend, couch crashing until he can get back on his feet. He attempts to live in a tent, but you ask him to move in when the weather begins to turn chilly. Your mother instincts kick in. Allergic to grass, for God's sake? You try to coax him to eat his veggies and get out of bed. You get cross when he snorks down the candy. He's quiet, too quiet, and quits his job without telling you. He's still asleep when you come back from classes, so you turn on the lights and open the blinds to wake him. You let in the light and open the blinds. It's a beautiful afternoon, you say. He showers and dries himself on the blanket he sleeps with, and wears the same clothes he's been wearing for the past month. The light coming through your window is lovely, and you don't leave for the library with him as you planned. When he gets up, you think this will be a good day. He grabs some sheets of paper, says he's going to draw. You smile widely at each other, a smile so elusive you think you ought to win a prize for it. Say goodbye and don't wonder till later why you stayed home instead of joining him. Why did you stay home instead of joining him? He's not home for dinner, and that's not strange. 7 p.m., his parents call and ask, and you tell them you think he's doing just fine. Yes, really, he's even drawing again. You text at 9 p.m. to let him know you can let him in whenever. At 3 a.m., you tell him you're locking the door, but please come home, just give me a call, okay? 4 p.m., you are cutting class to talk to an Ithaca police officer who doesn't think there's a problem here, who left you waiting for more than an hour because he's a drifter. Isn't that right? He's not a drifter. It's not right. You know in your bones because you've been here before. 7 p.m., the cops arrive again, and they deliver the news that the news you knew was coming. You find out some from the paper, and then the detective confirms. He went as quietly as he stayed. He took his car, beat up baby all his own, and drove the length of the lake while the sun set. Parked his car near a graveyard, put on the radio, and taped his license and the paper he had borrowed, now with his parents' phone numbers on it, and a few more words to please be careful. Please be careful. There are chemicals here. He didn't want anyone else to get hurt. He mixed the stuff together, the stuff he had delivered to your apartment that you had seen with your own eyes and took inside with your own hands. He had told you that it was a care package, a box full of cookies from home. Their paper will say, 22-year-old California man, which you won't be able to get your mouth around because of how you still see him. Light hair rumpled in front of his brown eyes. He's a boy, was a boy, with the sweetest laugh that's still soaked into your couch cushions. So I've still got 2 more, so hang in there. But I also did want to share the crisis line number, which is free 24 hours a day, and that number is 800-273-8255. So, 2 more. Taste of Decay. There is a dead deer upstairs in the garage, another in my grandfather's office. The mounted one, glass eyeballs contrived into skull's orbits, scared me more than the carcass in the garage, a victim of amateur taxidermy. Its ragged neck is gristly. So too the deathly rictus, the 2 barren eye sockets brook no such invitation for conversation, a prize ostracized outside the home. "You can't take that in here, Nat," became my first taste of decay. Hanging by a length of rope and fragrant with motor oil, the deer's head, relegated to the rafters, showed human hands at work. My grandfather's knife, uncoupling fur from flesh, a horror in its own way, one vivid lesson in the quick. I can see the empty shell of the dead deer upstairs. Black eyes follow me as a child, and I hold my breath or soothe it with my voice the way you would a skittish living horse, the way you cup a doll's face and fear and hope for it to blink. And this one also has some deers in it, and they're also dead. It's called Extinction. 1. Field Museum of Natural History, Chicago, Illinois, USA. Enter. The piss stink of long dead deer greets you. The world's largest sheep, horns heavy and dominance chipped. How did they die? Victims, perhaps, to Barasinga sickness, prey to a family of leopards, buried in snowdrifts, slowed by their own splendor. Some Bartow blend with the trees and seem to hope that your eyes pass right over them. Each ibex coat is built thick to trap warmth. In this dim light, polar wind piped into the empty hall, your gaze rolls off unmelted. Grasses draped on antler tines, hooves caked in mud, mouths agape. Each feigned bray is a smile forced inside your lips. 2. Natural History Museum, Port Louis, Mauritius. There are only 2 examples of a nearly complete dodo skeleton. 1. Fred is larger than you'd expect. The underwhelming star tucked sans fanfare just inside the doorway of the last teal-washed room. Fred broke almost all his bones when he fell into a cave's bleak mouth. The diorama plays to your imagination. A feathered beach ball of a bird that might poke its head over a dark hole and ass over tea kettle topple in. A placard notes the birds did not rush headlong to shore, wings flapping lamely, a hearty welcome for hungry sailors. Dodos didn't taste very good. The way of the dodo, you learn, is not only to wholly disappear, but to have your truth forgotten gleefully. Thank you.